financial problems, elder law, criminal law, tax problems, business matters, divorce, personal injury, bankruptcy, your life, your reality. Life is complicated. There is the law and there is reality. Welcome to Law and Reality, sponsored by THAV GROSS. Now here's your host, Ken Gross.
Welcome to this segment of Law and Reality. Today's topic is estate planning is necessary when disabled and not disabled. Brian Small.
Good morning, Ken. Pleasure to be here.
Kelsey Samasco.
Great to be here, Ken. Good morning.
Jeff Kirshner is not here today, so the disability side will have to cover for him himself. But I really want to make the point that it's estate planning the question is estate planning necessary?
Yes.
So here's my $64
Everybody's
question.
going to die, so I would imagine that estate planning
Yes.
is
This is
necessary.
my question to
Yes.
the two of you. The $64 question. Why is
64?
it necessary?
Give me $64.
I'll give you
I thought we were being
$64,
paid.
32 each, if you convince me that you're right.
I think that Brian said it best. Everyone's going to die. It's the one thing we all have in common in this life. We have to pay our taxes, and then we have to die after we pay our taxes at some point. If you are going to die, you have to have an estate plan to make sure things are passing to your loved ones the way you want them to pass, but also...
Or not passing to your
Or
loved ones. Passing where you want them to go.
Exactly. And, you know, we've been
You're a
talking
devil.
about the election
Hey.
a lot. And we are seeing more and more times people are coming in saying, I need to do my estate plan. My son is a liberal. My son is a Republican. He can't get a dime from me. And so much of this is, well, who do we want to make sure your stuff is going to? Who do we want to make sure your stuff is not going to?
I can
So
see that
if you
happening.
have-
I have a more pragmatic approach to it. I think that more often you see, I have two children. This one's a doctor, and this one's
A teacher.
a teacher. He doesn't need or she doesn't need the money. They're very successful. I want to make sure that the majority of my assets go to my child who needs it more, because I paid for medical school for that one and I didn't pay for medical school, and that's why they're making their own money, etc.
Let me give you two scenarios and tell me if estate planning is essential and why. Scenario
Yes.
one is, I'm married, I have two kids. When I die, I want the money to go to my wife. When she dies, I want the money to go, assuming whichever one of us lives second, then the money goes 50-50 to the two kids. On that one, do I need an estate plan? And then B is, I don't care what happens when I die. I don't care at all what happens when I die because I'm dead and I won't know.
So the answer,
That's A and B.
I want to answer B first.
Oh, I wanted to answer B.
Well, you can try too.
You
But
guys can both answer.
So
B.
here's the thing. The important part of B, the guy who doesn't care what happens to his money, is actually the documents for the living in the estate plan, the medical power of attorney and the durable power of attorney. Because while he or she may not care where the assets go, because if you die intestate in Michigan, your assets are going to go someplace. By law, they're going to be distributed through the probate court. But while you're alive, most people aren't going to sit there and go, I don't care what happens to me, just do whatever you want. They want somebody to help
buy
take
his
care of their
answer?
finances and help take care of their medical
He
decisions.
took the words right out of my mouth.
Okay.
You don't care what happens when you're dead, but guess what? When you're laying in a hospital bed and you know, I want my wife, my son, and my daughter to make my decisions and not my crazy sister.
Okay.
You need those
all right,
documents.
So on scenario B, ding ding, you guys each get $16.
I'm going to
Because
collect.
what you've convinced me, even if I don't care what happens when I die, I care about someone pulling the plug on me because I don't want to be hanging around brain dead for 20 years. And for that reason, I need an estate plan because I need a healthcare power, I need a durable power.
Absolutely.
Okay, now go back to scenario A.
If you do care about where your stuff goes, you want it to go to your wife, you want it to go to your children or your spouse, you need an estate plan to make it easy for them. Because if you don't tell these assets where they're going to go when you pass away, they have to go to probate court, and probate court tells them what to do. Probate court is usually going to say, if you don't have a will saying otherwise, give it to the spouse, give it to the children. Probate court is expensive. Probate court takes a long time, and probate court is 100% public. And so you want your stuff to go to your wife and your children. Do you want the whole world knowing exactly what your stuff is? Do you want the world knowing what's in your bank account?
And the same issues of while I'm living apply still, that applied to scenario B. Do you agree with that?
Well, absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day,
oh, bummer.
If you have
$16 more for each of you.
If you have
I'm out $64.
A trust, your assets pass privately. And it's none of anybody's business what that trust says until the heirs are getting the distribution. And what's interesting is that the privacy concept of a trust is so ingrained into that concept that when you change your beneficiaries on your financial accounts to be your trust, there's a document called the Certification of Authority of a Trust, Certification of Existence and Authority of a Trust. And what it does, it says, hi, bank, you don't need to know what my trust says. But by the way, I have a trust. Here's its name. Change the beneficiary of my assets to be my trust. And it doesn't matter where they're going. It's none of your business. Privacy is the key in trust work.
And what's really cool with that is, let's say you want things to go to your son and your daughter, right? But you want your son to get 60% and your daughter to get 40%. But you don't necessarily want them to know that. One, their siblings are going to figure it out. But technically, when you tell beneficiaries about a trust, you don't have to tell them what the other people are getting. I just have to say, hey, Brian, you're getting 30%. You don't get to know what the other person gets. Hey, Ken, you're getting 20%.
Hey, that's not fair.
You don't have to know what Brian's getting.
You're giving Brian more.
Brian drove me to all my doctor's appointments. Right? Brian lived with me. Brian made sure I was taken care of. And the others,
I was going to take you on that cruise.
You were going to, but you never booked it.
Sorry.
So
Ken, I was going to bring
and
my
another
notary
$64.
on the cruise.
No $32 for you. I'm going to welch on that deal right off the bat. So, privacy, certificate of trust, even privacy from the banks, while I'm living, durable powers of attorney. Let's take a break, talk about maybe how this applies to elder law.
Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call THAV GROSS.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call THAV GROSS. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
You know, Dad always asked that we look after Mom when he passed away.
I know, but she insisted on moving down to the Villages, and now she has that new boyfriend, and I am worried. Maybe it's time to just call Samasco Law.
Take the stress out of your family's future. Reach out to Samasco Law and set a course through life's difficult times. Samasco Law, protecting what means most, because that's what we do.
Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
THAV GROSS specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
You can't work. You have to deal with pain and stress. Worse yet, our system for applying for disability benefits seeks to deny you the benefits you're entitled. Jeff Kirschner is an expert in obtaining disability and workers' compensation benefits for his clients. You need to call Jeff before you apply or after you're denied to get the benefits you deserve. 888-235-HELP. 888-235-HELP. Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call THAV GROSS.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call THAV GROSS today, 888-235-HELP.
We're back. So, estate planning is essential, I'm convinced. Let's talk about how this also applies to elder law care. Set the stage for
Wait, before you do that, I want to point one thing out. We talked about how trusts could go 60-40, whatever. The other thing that a trust is really useful for is if you have a child who is special needs, in other words, is on SSI, governmental benefits. That could be anywhere from a severely injured individual to somebody who's autistic and needs governmental support because they can't obtain a job for themselves. The opportunity to get those benefits, including Medicare and SSI, exists, but if you leave money outright
take away
to
their
that
benefit.
child, their opportunity to maintain those governmental benefits will terminate. And if you put it into a special needs trust, all that money is there for their benefit, used on their behalf, but they don't lose their benefits. So trust work in and of itself is critically important in that type of situation.
It's the most important thing because usually people are passing along enough money to, really impact someone's life, but mom's not passing enough money to her disabled child to say, you don't have to worry about anything. Here's $30 million, go pay for your own health insurance, you're fine. Right? It's usually $100,000,
Right.
2, 3, just enough to really mess things up. But what's nice about these special needs trusts too is there's this thing called the third party special needs trust where it says, listen, I'm setting it up for my child, and if this disabled person doesn't spend all of the money in this trust by the time they pass away, it goes to a different beneficiary instead of back to the state of Michigan or whatever state you're living in.
Which does happen in a first party special needs trust.
Absolutely.
All right, so for sure necessary there. All right, now I got mom and dad. They're both in their early 80s. They're amiable, they're ambulatory, they're living at home, but the question is, what if one of them ends up needing a nursing home? How does estate planning fit into this scenario with elder law care? And I hear you guys tell me all the time, the durable power of attorney is so important.
So the reason it's so important is because your estate plan, if you go to an elder law attorney worth their salt, the estate plan bakes in a Medicaid plan, right? All of my powers of attorney have language in it that say, listen, if I'm a married person and I get really sick or really hurt, they have all of the authority they need to be able to go into court and protect 100% of our assets, 100% of our income. And so just by doing an estate plan that has a durable power of attorney that contains the correct language, I can get one spouse into a nursing home for $0 a month.
And all the money that's coming into the household, or all the money that's owned by both the husband and wife, is available for the non-nursing home bound spouse.
Yes.
See, that's what I think people forget to realize is, okay, the nursing home cost can be $10,000 to $13,000 a month. You could even sit there saying, well, I've got savings of $500,000, I can afford that. But the question is, what's the average stay in the nursing home?
I mean, it really depends. It could be 3 months, it could be 4 years.
So if you multiply that out, and all of a sudden, if that money is being depleted for the nursing home, the other spouse does not have sufficient money to live on.
Yep.
And what if that spouse then needs the nursing home?
Well, so there's this thing called the Spousal Impoverishment Act that Congress enacted with Medicaid, where it says, listen, for a married couple, you can't spend all your money paying for someone's care, because then when it comes for the healthy spouse to need care, it's guaranteed they're going to need government benefits, right? If we're spending $100,000 on nursing home care every year for husband, we're seeing a world where my wife might need some housing assistance. She might need food assistance. She might need income assistance. And so Congress said, listen, we'd rather hedge our bets taking care of the first spouse to get sick, anticipating that the healthy spouse will take all of those assets and all of that income and use it to pay for their care in the future. For us, though, step one is getting the sick spouse on Medicaid. Step two, though, then is, all right, we protected all of these assets from the nursing home for husband. Wife, let's take a look at it so if you ever need care, we've got the ball rolling on those protections.
Okay, so nursing home bound spouse passes. Mm-hmm. And now, a few years later, the second spouse needs a nursing home. Mm-hmm. Can you protect anything?
So no matter what, we can always protect at least half for a single person. But at that point, we look at some other kind of alternative measures that we could use to protect money. We could use an irrevocable trust, but that trust has that 5-year look-back period. So it's got to be in place 5 years before someone needs care.
So if you know spouse one is highly likely to go first, mm-hmm. and spouse two seems to be doing pretty well, you could take action for spouse two right away to try and take the benefit of the 5-year rule.
Yes. And so sometimes what we'll do is we'll say, listen, if spouse one is so sick, we think they might not need 4 months of nursing home care, but only 1 or 2. We'll say, listen, let's not get them nursing home care because spouse two, we could see that you could need care for a lot longer. Let's protect it for you to get more Medicaid care down the line. And so really it's just the issue of, as things change, call your attorney, right? If somebody gets sick, call your attorney. If somebody passes away, call your attorney, because those are the magic moments where we can really make something happen and we can really protect things. But if you're not proactive in it, it's a lot harder to protect on the back end.
For sure. All right, so, and then the durable power is the flexible document that gives you the power to move assets. The person is no longer capable of acting on their behalf. They're alive, but they're dementia. They don't have the ability to act. If the power of attorney is in place, you can make all the moves. If there's no power of attorney, you got to run to court and get appointed a conservator and a guardian.
Absolutely. And at that point, though, the guardianship and conservatorship is all court supervised. Some judges aren't very kind to Medicaid planning.
Let's take a break. We'll pick it up right after the break.
Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. You can't work. You have to deal with pain and stress. Worse yet, our system for applying for disability benefits seeks to deny you the benefits you're entitled. Jeff Kirshner is an expert in obtaining disability and workers' compensation benefits for his clients. You need to call Jeff before you apply or after you're denied to get the benefits you deserve. 888-235-HELP. 888-235-HELP. If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
THAV GROSS specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
Time for announcements. I want to announce THAV GROSS has opened a new office downriver in the Horizon building on Eureka Road. So now we're in Flint, downriver, and also our home office in Bingham Farms. Remember, you can always come in for a free consultation. You can do it by Zoom conference, in the office, any way that works best for you. Just call 888-235-HELP or go to the website, thavgross.com, to sign up. Debt issues, tax issues, estate planning issues, business law issues, elder law issues with Pat or Kelsey, disability issues with Jeff Kirshner. Again, sign up at lawandreality.com or thavgross.com or just call 888-235-HELP. Also, if you go to the website, you'll see there's free reports. Resolving Tax Problems, The Real Solutions by Jeff Linden and myself. Bankruptcy, Is It Right for Me by Brian Small. How to Save Your Home from Foreclosure. Business Formations, Loans and Grants for Small Businesses in Detroit and Michigan. And The Retiree's Guide to Social Security by Pat Simasko. I want to thank our sponsors, THAV GROSS, Simasko Law, Kirshner Law. Now back to the show.
Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call THAV GROSS.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call THAV GROSS today, 888-235-HELP.
If your loved one is struggling with age-related issues, let our family help your family. Call Simasko Law now. We're family-owned and growing. Meet Joe Frizzard and Kelsey Simasko, our newest superstars. We'll handle your issues with care, compassion, and dedication. At Simasko Law, we'll leave no stone unturned until your family is protected for the long term. We'll walk together. That's what families do. Simasko Law. Protect what matters.
Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call THAV GROSS.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call THAV GROSS. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
All right, we're back. So on the elder law care, just to wrap that up, the durable power of attorney is critical because the last thing that you want is to leave the decision as to whether you can do Medicaid planning to the judge.
Absolutely.
First of all, it's costly to get in front of the judge, and then B, if the judge doesn't go along with the program, you're the one who's going to suffer.
And C, it wastes a ton of time, right? It can take 4 to 6 weeks to get a guardianship or a conservatorship put in place. Even if you already have one in place and we have to petition the court to move money around, it takes a couple weeks to get in front of the judge. And in Medicaid planning, a couple weeks might as well be a lifetime.
Absolutely.
Critical.
All right, so other reasons, estate planning. What do you got?
Well, how about debt?
You don't have any
I
debt.
don't
know
have any
you.
debt.
Brian doesn't have to
let's
worry
suppose
about
there's
that.
debt.
So then there's debt. Who's got the debt? Who's getting the money? Do you want your money?
Suppose Dad has a bunch of debt. He has $200,000 of credit card debt, and he owes a guarantee to the bank on a business loan that defaulted a long time ago, but they haven't yet sued.
Okay, so
Mom is not on the hook on any of those things.
no, but so here's the thing: Mom has assets. If Mom passes, they're generally going to go to Dad.
And then all his creditors get paid.
All those creditors can come in and get the money. So what? In that situation, we try to avoid Mom's assets going outright to Dad. So we will leave assets in trust for the benefit of Dad. We do what's
for
called
his care and his support.
I don't care. Or his vacations. It doesn't make a difference. It comes down to we put a spendthrift provision into the trust, and we give the trustee discretionary powers, meaning the trustee
can Dad be the trustee or
use
somebody else the trustee?
No, Dad can't be the trustee. The trustee has to be somebody else.
But but son of Mom and Dad can be trustee.
Correct. And what happens is the friendly
or daughter,
who's in charge of the money, uses it on behalf of Dad, but Dad can't get to it. And because Dad can't get to it because he doesn't have immediate access to it, neither can
the bank,
the
credit card.
The IRS can't get to it.
IRS can't get to it either?
No, nobody can get to it. A bankruptcy trustee can't get to it.
That's a good thing.
So
when Dad dies, then where's the money go?
When Dad dies, then it goes to the beneficiaries of the trust afterwards.
The son and
so
the daughter.
we literally, I just drafted one the other day. The house is staying in the trust for Dad's benefit. If Dad doesn't want to live in that house anymore and wants a different house, the trustee has the authority to go sell that house and buy a replacement house for dad.
But it's not in dad's name.
No, it's in the trust's name. The money's in the trust. Everything's there for dad, except for the fact that dad can't write a check himself.
So give me a different scenario. All right, so mom and dad have their trust. They're both financially okay, but they're worried that when they die and they leave money, half the money to son and half the money to daughter, daughter's financially stable, everything is fine. Son is a gambler.
So
They don't want the money going to MGM.
So we do a couple things. First of all, a traditional distribution would be we would delay the distribution at certain ages, figuring, and just use a 25, 30, and 35, a third each. You figure at 25, if they're irresponsible, they get a third of it, it's gone. Okay, they get another bite at the apple. At 30, they get another third. If that's gone, they get one more third at 35, and then you know what? If they're not responsible by 35, they're likely to never be responsible. So that's one way to do it. Second concept is that if you put it in the trust and you leave it in the trust and you have somebody else managing the money, then okay, they can pay the bills on behalf of the son. They can pay the rent, they can buy a house, they can do whatever, but the son doesn't have the outright control of the money, so therefore his level of responsibility being zero doesn't mean that the money's getting flushed down the toilet. And that's the way it can be done. Now, you can even have a corporate trustee. You can have banks be the trustee so that
They gouge.
They do gouge, but sometimes you can't find
someone to
act as trustee in perpetuity, especially if you're trying to manage a special needs trust and things like that.
Personally, I have gotten burned
corporate trustees are tough.
1,000 times having a bank as the trustee.
Oh no, it's not a good idea, but it might be the only idea.
And it's sometimes, you know, and you hit the nail on the head where with these protection trusts, you need someone to literally be willing to sit there and write the check, right? If brother and sister are estranged and sister says, under no circumstances will I manage his money, then we have to look at, all right, is protecting the money worth spending it on the babysitter?
Maybe the family CPA could do it, or the CPA firm,
absolutely.
or the attorney or something.
Usually
corporate trustees are tough.
If it's Comerica, if it's Bank of America, it's not going to be a great idea, right? But if it's Ken, my accountant, who has been the accountant forever, and I'm assuming that he'll be the accountant for the rest of time, I would absolutely feel comfortable feeling
The only thing you have to worry about that is how old is Ken?
Right.
Yeah.
Will he be
Well, I
long
know
enough,
that
and
Ken
will
has
his firm stay around?
Well,
after
Ken's
him?
got a really good-looking son who said, listen, I'm in, right? So it's Ken Jr.
All right. This is my IOU to you.
It's an unsigned IOU, typical lawyer.
To you. You guys have earned your $32 each. The $64 question has been answered, and we are adjourned. Have a great week. We'll be back next week with Law and Reality.